Hi everyone. There's a question that some atheists get. I've gotten it a few times and I've definitely heard it on other channels. And this question is how I coped with this idea of hell after I left Christianity. I didn't really feel like I was the best person to answer this because I have a way to kind of disconnect from feelings. And I thought, you know what? It has helped me in other ways. It's helped me with disappointments or heartbreak and that sort of thing. So maybe this can help you guys too. Now, for me, I was a Pentecostal. Pentecostal, evangelical, I mean, what is that without the talk of hell, right? I was so afraid of hell. I was so preoccupied with hell. I was so scared that something that I would do somehow would land me in hell if I had died. I was so scared that a thought that I would have, or just the very nature of humans, we're told, is sinful. We're born sinful. We're born already guilty of the original sin, right? And so I just felt it was my nature. There was something wrong with me just as a human being. And if I wasn't constantly asking for forgiveness, I would die and go to hell. Every week at these services, or twice a week, because I would go to the Sunday service, but I would also go to the Wednesday youth service as well. Partially because I had been part of the worship team. I played the bass. They would have these things called an altar call. If you've never been part of in one of these churches, basically an altar call comes after the sermon. And it's this open invitation to people who have kind of come away from the religion but are trying to come back to it. Or people that are totally new. You brought an atheist friend or another type of Christian friend or some other religious friend. You brought them to the church. They were convinced to convert to your brand of Christianity, and it gives them the opportunity to kind of publicly dedicate themselves to that. So this is this time when you would go up to the pulpit. You could get prayed upon. People would lay hands on you and pray for you by like the elders of the church, for example, or the leaders in the church. And I did that every week. I mean, I swear I would have been a better Catholic. I was so ready to confess my sins. I would do it at the youth group on Wednesday, and I would do it again on Sundays because I knew there was just something that would land me in hell. I was so scared of it. I was so scared. There were times when I would cry and pray myself to sleep. I mean, I was just so petrified of hell. But then after I left Christianity, just didn't really give it a second thought. Why? So for me, when I have a thought, or a feeling, I should say, that is really uncomfortable, a feeling of anger, a feeling of guilt, a feeling of sadness, a feeling of fear, I've really hated dealing with that. I used to be a very explosive person. If I was angry, I would be screaming, throwing, punching walls, kind of angry, just expressing this anger, scaring the people around me. I never would hit anybody, and that's what I would tell them, calm down, I'm not attacking you, I'm just mad at myself, and I would say all these terrible things about myself while I was upset. I mean, that's the kind of person I was. But it did scare people. It scared my roommates, and their face this one time, I just felt so bad. Like they looked like they had told me that they had grown up in an abusive home. And this look on their face was like a child fearing an abusive parent. And I thought, man, I'm doing that to somebody? So I tried to figure out a way to manage my anger, and it was able to kind of branch out to manage other types of uncomfortable feelings. So the first thing is to figure out what I'm feeling. Am I angry? Am I sad? Am I whatever? To really put a name onto the feeling, to label that feeling. From there, why am I feeling this? Am I angry because I'm really hungry today and the thing that happened is not worth getting angry about? In the case of this hell, I am scared, and I'm scared that I might be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I die, I go to hell, and I am tortured forever. Okay. Step 3 is that feeling, or is that rationality, is that train of thought, is that justified? How reasonable is that feeling? In the case of hell, I mean, there's a lot of negative afterlives, aren't there? I could be the best Christian on the planet, die and find out that Islam was correct. Do you know what I mean? Am I worried about the Muslim hell? Am I worried about any other negative afterlife? No, I don't fear them. And as far as I'm concerned, from my perspective as an atheist, I mean, they're all equally true or not true, however you want to say that. They're equally, there's an equal opportunity that any, or equal possibility, I suppose, that any of these could be true. Now, of course, there's nuance to that, but, for all intents and purposes, it's, as the Christian hell could be real, the Muslim hell could be real, and a negative reincarnation could be real, for example. Okay. Do I worry about any of the others? No. Why not? Couldn't they also have happened? Or couldn't they also be true? Why do I not worry about them? Well, because I'm just not worried about them. It's not something I think about, and if it is real, then, time will tell and whatever. Shouldn't I apply that same feeling to Christianity and the Christian hell? Yeah, I guess I should. And that's really it. The final step, if it's needed, is a visualization. And that visualization is me inside of my own body, like in my heart. And I have this feeling, this fear, this sadness, whatever. And I visualize myself taking it out of my own heart. And there's a hole in my heart and it closes up. And then I visualize myself walking up a ladder, up my neck, into my brain. And once there, I visualize myself standing on top of my brain, holding this thing that I want to get rid of. And then I visualize myself throwing it outside of my head, like outside of, away from my brain, away from my skull, and it dissipates just into the cosmos is kind of how I see it. So there's my head and my brain and everything, and then behind it, there's not like this wall behind me, but it would be the stars and stuff. So I throw it out and it just dissipates. And I visualize that. If the feeling continues to stick, I just go back to that step again where I tell myself, is this a rational feeling? There are times when you feel things that are totally illogical, but you still can't help but feel that. So in those cases, I have like a mantra that I tell myself, and I remind myself of it a few times. It's not going to totally get rid of the feeling right away, but it does tone it down enough that I can focus on something. So in this case, if it's a hell kind of idea, it would be something like, I don't worry about the hells in other religions. There's no logical reason that I should worry about the hell in Christianity. Just because I was raised with Christianity doesn't mean that it's more likely to be true. Therefore, I should worry about it as much as I worry about the hells of other religions, which is not at all. And I would just repeat that to myself for, however long it takes. Usually 3 to 6 times kind of works for me. And again, it doesn't get rid of the feeling completely if you're having this really strong negative feeling. It just kind of blunts it again enough that I can focus on something. The only thing this doesn't work for is stuff that has no solution, like death. When somebody in your family dies, there was a recent video that I had done, as of the making of this video, that is talking about the death of a sibling. This does not work for that. And so my anger about that just exists. And it's very frustrating because that's all it can do is exist. I do want to hit things and break things and scream and cry, but in addition to not wanting to do that in public when I have those feelings and, maybe get arrested for intimidating and harassment, of people, it'll just give me a migraine. Crying gives me a migraine. Punching stuff, like a punching bag, for example, that'll give me a migraine too. And so I have to just say this feeling exists, and there's nothing I can do about it, and it exists, and that's it. Sometimes I breathe, just have to breathe really heavily through it, and you just accept it. So if you're having trouble shaking that feeling of hell, that might be where you're at. I have this feeling. I know there's nothing I can do about it. I don't believe it, but I still have this feeling, and this feeling is going to just exist right now. It's not awesome to feel this way, but at the same time, it's not the end of your day. You're going to be able to move on from it after you let those feelings kind of rise up. I like to think about it sort of like a pot that boils. Once that pot boils over with, let's say you're boiling milk or something, if you try to simmer milk, you know, it goes from barely simmering to suddenly it's all over your stove very quickly. And then it just goes away because you're out of milk, all right? The pot is empty. And so in that same way, it feels like I allow that feeling to exist and boil over within me. And then that feeling has run its course for that time. The power of that feeling has rushed through me and it's lost that power. It's still there. It's kind of a background thing, but its power is gone. And so those are the two options that I would recommend. And again, it does work for all kinds of things. It works for anxiety and stuff, not just like feeling bad about something. It can also be just, hey, you're having an anxiety moment and you're having a panic attack or whatever. It can help with that as well. What am I afraid of? Or what is the feeling? Why do I have this feeling? Is this feeling realistic? And try to throw it away out of your brain. If not, do the mantra thing. Okay, this is, you know, if you're afraid of the plane crashing, okay, this could happen. It's not happening. There's no reason to worry. Worrying about it happening is not going to increase or decrease the likelihood of the plane crash. So all I'm doing right now is making myself uncomfortable and freaking out, and it's not benefiting me in any way. And it's making me feel uncomfortable, which is damaging me. This is probably not going to happen. If it happens, we'll deal with it. There's a way to manage plane crashes, blah, 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 blah. But at this time, there's nothing to indicate we're going to crash. There's no way to prevent it if we are going to crash. Nothing I can do. Calm down. And I would just repeat that over and over. I hope that this helps somebody. Like I said, I wasn't really sure if this video would help, because I know a lot of people have these very rich kind of enveloping emotions, especially about the fear of hell, and I just never really had that. So I do hope that this can be helpful. Please let me know in the comment section below. If you guys have any other questions, please post them in the comment section below. You can also check out Discord, Instagram, and there's some other links in the pinned comment, and I would also put it in the details section below. But as always, guys, thanks for listening.